What are the first warning signs that tell you someone has a profit problem?
Usually they say something like, I'm working really hard, but I've been paying myself this small amount for way too long. Or I don't know where all the money goes. Like I am feeling like I'm starting to burn out. Why am I working so hard? Maybe I should have got a job. Should I change? This agency's not for me.
Most agency owners are obsessed with revenue, but very few are actually really thinking about the profit, right? About wealth creation, about financial freedom.
And so the danger of that is years and years of people talking about revenue and growing the revenue in your agency is you start thinking that's the only goal, that's the main goal. But I think the main lie is sales solves all problems. The thing about any business is that it's risky. They can change for whatever reason, like, Google algorithm changes. AI starts killing all the SEO. Always these big shifts in the digital marketing space. So you need to be thinking about pulling the money outside the business, at the very least to build a savings buffer, but ideally to start investing it in other assets, not just have it all concentrated in this one high risky business asset.
Cash isn't always the best incentive for team members.
There are so many other things you can do apart from cash, and I've seen cash-based bonus systems just ruin everything.
What does real financial freedom actually look like for you?
It's interesting, it's changed. I had a bit of an existential crisis because here's the goal that I wanted, now what? And so for me, financial freedom is about being able to spend my time doing the things that I want to do without the stress of money.
All right, guys, welcome to the Go Accomplish More podcast. And today we're going to talk about why most agency owners make more money, but build less wealth. And today we have Ben McAdam. Ben, welcome to the show. I'm super excited to have you.
Thank you, John. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so I'm excited about this conversation because most agency owners are obsessed with revenue, right? About growing, about scaling, but very few are actually really thinking about the profit, right? About wealth creation, about financial freedom. And we just want to dive right into it. But before getting into profits and wealth building, I'm just going to ask you a few questions just to get to know you. You're from Sydney, right?
Yes. Let me do the thing. Good day, mate. How was that? Was that Australian enough?
I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. So it's what, right now it's what time is it right now?
It's 7:20 in the morning. It's the sun has just peeked up over the trees over there, so it's going to slowly change the lighting on that side of my face over the course of the episode. So good.
So for those of you listening, so it's literally 5:20 p.m. here in Florida, and Ben is in the other side of the world. So excited to have you, Ben. So Ben, what's something in your life that you're doing right now that you're most proud of, or any business achievement that you're working on right now?
Well, some of the things in the background, like all that plant that's growing all over my bookcase there, I'm a recovering black thumb, not a green thumb. So yeah, I'm a little proud of that. Proud of being a good dad. I've got 2 daughters, and it's hard sometimes to do the right thing when you're tired and busy. Totally. You have standards here and time and energy here.
Yeah.
Business, I bought a bunch of businesses a little over 2 years ago. Got the portfolio to about 10 million in revenue.
Nice.
It was 11 of them I ended up buying, and grew a handful of them pretty well, and selling them off, and starting to think about the next round of acquisitions that I make, and that's fun. It's a new level of challenge for me that I'm enjoying.
That sounds like fun for sure. So let's jump right in. I wrote a book called The Freedom Agency, and in that book I talk about the revenue mirage, right? Where people think that revenue is gonna solve all the issues, solve problems, but in the end, that's just part of the equation. And I want to ask you that question: why do so many business owners or even agency owners hit record revenue years and still feel financially stressed?
Oh yeah. Whoa, dude, you just handed me my soapbox topic. Wow. How much time do we have? So the big thing about, and I tend to find this is a problem around 30K to 60K a month. And again, in the early 7 figures, and again, it can happen to mid to high 7 figures. The problem is margin. Gross profit margin is the technical term because everyone loves that. It's not just about the revenue. It's about how much it costs you to deliver the work. So, sell $1,000 product and you have to pay the team $999 to do it. It's you don't have much money to market to acquire that customer, pay for managers, pay yourself, have some profit, pay your other expenses. If you have $1,000 product or service, sorry, that you're selling, and it costs you $1 to pay the team to do it, well, that's tons of money in there to acquire that client, to acquire other clients, to hire ahead of when you need, to scale, to hire managers, to pay all your other expenses, tons of owner pay, profits, that kind of thing. And so it's like, it's that ratio, really. It's not the dollar figure, the difference between the two, it's the ratio. And if you get it wrong, it's like you start feeling too busy to grow, too busy to hire, or like you feel really too busy and you can't afford to hire for some reason. Or like, well, my revenue's growing. Why don't I have money? Where is it all going? I've looked at all my software expenses and I've trimmed all of those. Like, what's happening? I guess I just have to hustle more. That tends to be what it feels like. But it's getting that ratio right. That's if you wanted a freedom number, then that percentage is the freedom number.
Would you say that most agency owners, they're just turning a blind eye to it because they just don't have the time? Like what's a lie that they keep on telling themselves when it comes to revenue and just building the agency? Because a lot of times I just feel that they're in it to build relationships and they're doing the sales and they're just like, man, my top line revenue is this, and it feels like they're boasting, and how can you prevent it? Like, how can you prevent that lie?
Revenue is a number that can be talked about, and it can be talked about by people, who want to help you develop more, to generate more leads. And so the danger of that is years and years of people talking about revenue and growing the revenue in your agency is you start thinking that's the only goal, that's the main goal. So there's a bit of that messaging there, but I think the main lie is sales solves all problems. Like, I just need to sign up more clients, I just need more revenue, maybe when I hit X revenue tier, this will all be easier. I'm just going through a rough spot right now. It's not necessarily an intentional lie, they're deceiving themselves. It's just they don't realize that more sales doesn't solve this particular problem. Going back to that $1,000 service that costs $999 to deliver, more revenue isn't going to solve anything. You sell more of those, it's just going to make you go broke faster. So yeah, I think it's not so much an intentional lie, but it's definitely something I try to bring up as often as possible, because agency owners no one really talks about this.
Do you follow the profit first methodology, or have you heard of it? Because I think a lot of agency owners, they do practice that and they start paying themselves first. And we started doing that. And I thought it's a good analogy where sometimes most agency owners, they're always focusing on paying the payroll, doing the payroll, getting everything. And then they end up paying themselves and like, this is what I'm paying myself now, after. Yeah. What strategies do you recommend when it comes to making sure that the agency owner is getting paid?
Yeah. I recommended it to a bunch of clients. I've taught workshops on it. I even made like a GPT that would just walk people through the steps and answer the questions as they do. I think it's a really good first step for someone who wants to do better with their money, better with their financial numbers, but isn't super keen on looking at spreadsheets or going into their bookkeeping software or anything like that. If you get allergic at the idea of a budget, it feels horrible and restrictive like a diet, Profit First is a better method. It's so simple. It's easy to set up automatic transfer rules, especially with the bank that they recommend, and more banks are adding that feature now. I think the setting of the percentages is probably the key with Profit First. So, for an agency, for people who don't know how Profit First works, it's the idea that all money from clients goes into one bank account, and then twice a month you transfer the money into different other bank accounts. One's for operation expenses, one's for owner pay,
taxes,
one's for taxes, one's for savings, that sort of thing. And the idea is the money's sitting there in the operations account, and in our minds we basically spend based on how much money's in the bank account. Like that's just how we're wired. Whatever resources we have, that's what we tend to spend. So $100,000 sitting in the bank account, now's a good time to upgrade that perfectly good couch that we have at home. So, $3,000 in the bank account. Maybe we don't go out for dinner this week.
Yeah.
We tend to do that. So Profit First sort of automatically puts the right amounts of money into each of these bank accounts so that you don't overspend. And one of the owner pay is one of the accounts, so the money automatically goes there. So for the operations piece, like making sure it's the right percentage. when you start implementing Profit First, it might be like 90% of the money goes into that account because you got team and software and things. But over time, restricting it down so it's more like 50% and then down to 40%. That means you won't spend so much on the team, and it'll force you to come up with other solutions rather than just like, oh, I'll just pay more people.
That's so good. And I think that once the agency owners apply that, they start seeing the light in the end of the tunnel, I think. And you're right. Like this might apply more to the smaller agency in the beginning. And after that, they really need to hire a bookkeeper, making sure that they're tracking those numbers, and even a financial person like you, right? You've helped thousands of business owners. With that question, I want to ask you. So you've helped thousands of business owners, agency owners as well. What are the first warning signs that tell you someone has a profit problem?
Usually they say something like, I'm working really hard, but I've been paying myself this small amount for way too long, or I don't know where all the money goes, or usually some variation of that. Sometimes they might say, I'm paying my team, someone on my team more than I'm getting paid. Like I'm feeling like I'm starting to burn out. Why am I working so hard? Maybe I should have got a job. Should I change? This agency's not for me. It's usually that not earning enough, burnout, second guessing their major choices, and that's most of the time when people reach out to me.
Would you say that most agency owners, they focus more on, let's say, the advertisement side of it? Let's say they're in hyper growth mode, right? I think that's happened to me where we were going to different events, and like Alex Ramosi says, if something is working, 10x what's already working. And then so we started becoming sponsors with certain events, and then you start looking at the profit and like, wait a minute, I spent this amount of money on this event and we got one lead from that event. And so do you think that misalignment on when it comes to advertisement, that it can go out of whack? Or would you say the biggest would be their payroll when it comes to the agency growing, or it's a balance between both?
Yeah, it's both. Like, if an agency owner comes to me and says, what are the 3 numbers I need to look at? I'm like, perfect. It's revenue, team, and client acquisition costs. Like, they're the 3 big ones. Everything else is tiny and not very complicated or impactful for an agency. So yeah, on the team side, it's like hiring people you don't need yet, or, not having some way to make sure that they're being productive and effective. For example, one of my clients had 4 people that he'd hired in the Philippines to manage the SEO for his client list. And one of them was doing all of the work in 20 hours a week, and the other 3 were just like pretending that they were doing stuff. So like when we, dived into the nitty gritty of started doing some time tracking, started getting a bit clearer on like what the deliverables were, how much time it should take, it became really obvious that he didn't need that many people, and via them saved thousands of dollars a month. So yeah, on the team side, it's not being clear about what they're doing in a way that doesn't take all of your time to monitor. And then on the advertising side, yeah, enthusiasm can be a problem. But just like throwing money at the problem. So it's like, oh, I need more leads, I'll just spend on marketing, without putting a huge amount of thought into it or checking it afterwards, which I have done. I wasted, thousands of dollars on Facebook ads many years ago. Just like, I need more leads, I'll just do Facebook ads, I know better now. But yeah, so enthusiasm and not really checking whether it's working, whether they're getting their value for money. So like one of the most obvious ways I can say to improve profit is like go trim some software costs. But one of the more impactful ones is like go check your marketing and cut what isn't actually working. And I know there's always something, and that usually saves at least $1,000 a month.
Oh gosh, and you spoke to me right there. Like literally, I had my EA check the monthly cost that we have with software. And we had so many that we weren't even using, and it added up like to $600 per month. And I'm like, what? We're not using this, right?
Yeah.
It's insane, right? Because we get involved, especially agency owners, where there's a new software that comes into the mix, you start using it, and then something else comes into the mix, and you forget that you're on that recurring charge. And those little foxes, right? Once you start shaving off those little foxes, can really help with having more profit at the end, right?
Yeah, or like user licenses that you're not actually paying for anymore, or you've bought licenses, software licenses for team members that don't actually need the software. It's very easy to just like, make that decision quickly, at least every 3 months, I would say, like go through all the expenses, trim anything that you're no longer using, especially with, the way that AI is eating all the other software costs. It's worth checking.
Totally, totally. So Ben, I want to ask you a question, and I think most agency owners want to know this is there's different levels of agency owners, right? There's different agencies that are, they just hit that 1 million. There's others way surpass that. What's your philosophy on owner compensation versus reinvesting everything back into the business or back into the agency? Like, what is that healthy balance that you recommend?
The business needs a certain amount of money for growth, and you need a certain amount of money for covering your personal expenses and not feeling like you're a broke student eating ramen noodles all the time. And your personal pay, like, it does need to go up over time so that you have a sense of progress and reward for the bigger challenges that you take on as your business grows. Like, you're doing the work for a client and you mess up something in their Facebook ads and you apologize to them. That's like, a low level problem. And then when you're in the like multi-millions in your mid 7 figures and up, it's like one team member is like trying to poach 30 of your clients. Like that's a different kind of high level challenge. So you got to kind of make sure you reward yourself. But for me, it's like a, broader wealth building question of diversifying. The thing about any business is that it's risky and they can change for whatever reason. Like, Google algorithm changes. If Facebook brings in the Andromeda update, AI starts killing all the SEO benefits and leads that all the clients were getting. There's like always these big shifts in the digital marketing space for agencies that can change things. And so like, it's not guaranteed that the business will continue doing as it is or continue growing from here for years to come. So you need to be thinking about pulling the money outside the business at the very least to build a savings buffer, but ideally to like start investing it in other assets, not just have it all concentrated in this one high risky business asset.
When it comes to packaging, do you see that being an issue where you'll see an agency owner where they're charging way less than what they should be charging, and that could be a quick fix for them as well so that they can get more revenue and then they're going to have more profit? That's something you bump into a lot?
Oh yeah, absolutely. A lot of agency owners got into the agency space first by being a freelancer or a consultant. And so, they would be happy to charge $25 an hour, $50 an hour to do the work for clients. And they were really fast at doing the work as well. So even if they charged like $100 or $200 an hour, like they were really fast. Generally, like agency owners have some sort of a marketing related skill and have come from a freelance consultant background where they're building websites or running ads themselves. And so what happens is they keep their prices that way and they try to hire. It won't work. Like the prices need to go up in order to be able to scale like that. I talked about the gross profit margins. Like you need to be charging at least 3 times what it costs your team to do the work. Otherwise life is just going to suck and feel difficult. For a lot of cases, like agency owners are maybe doubling the cost in order to get their price. And they get stuck somewhere around 30 to 60K a month, early 7 figures, and again in mid 7 figures. If they don't work on this because they can't afford what they need to get to the next level. At 30 to 60K a month, they can't get themselves out of delivery because they can't afford to pay anyone. And in the 7-figure range, it's about supervisors, management team, paying for marketing and salespeople. If you don't get it right, there's not enough money for that. So in most cases, yeah, raising prices is the thing. And historically, I've talked about that a lot, but in the age of AI and having that reduce the costs, sometimes it's less necessary as it used to be for an agency owner to raise their prices. So long as they're following that rule of 3, where they take the cost multiplied by 3, that's your minimum price. So long as they're following that, I don't mind so much what level the price is. It could be $750 a month, could be $5,000 a month, could be anywhere in between. So long as it works for that rule of 3, meaning it works for the business, and so long as it works for the clients, that particular niche that you've chosen. But yeah, raising prices is a thing a lot of agency owners are a bit scared to do, and I totally understand. been there as well. Anytime I raise my prices or in any of the portfolio companies.
Like especially those clients that have been with you for over 3 years or 4 years, are like, oh my God, if I call that client, raise the price, they might cancel. And
Yeah.
so a little hesitant on those as well. So
I do actually have a comfort zone expanding thought experiment for people who are worried about clients leaving, if you like.
okay.
If I've got time to go through it. So normally this is what I do when someone's like, oh, I'm worried about my clients leaving. I say, well, you can actually raise your prices, have some clients leave, and still be better off after that.
Good point.
So yeah, so take that example of the $1,000 service and $999 of cost. You double your prices, and it's like an extra $1,000 per client of profit for you. And quite a lot of those clients could leave, and you're still making just as much money because of how much extra that price raise is. So say $10,000 a month or a week or a day is your revenue. You double your prices and it goes from 10,000 to 20,000, and then half your clients leave and your revenue goes back from 20,000 back down to 10,000. And you're grabbing your torch and pitchforks and you're coming after me for like, Ben, why did you make me go through that emotional roller coaster? And then I say, wait. Yes, your revenue's back at $10,000, but you got half as many clients. So like your costs were here and now they're here. So you're actually more profitable, even though a bunch of your clients left because of that big price rise. And the worse your gross profit ratio is, like how much the costs are compared to the price, like the tinier that gap is, the bigger a price rise you can get away with, and the more clients can leave, and you'll still be better off. I did a blog post that has the table, walks people through it. That I usually say, Google profits collective, lose customers. No one's going to compete with me on the lose customers. But yeah, it can be okay even if clients leave due to a price rise.
Like, I think it's a mindset shift as well. I think that agency owners need to see the bigger picture. So let's talk a little bit about leadership and team growth, right? I think part of this equation as well is that you're building your agency, right? You're selling a product, you're selling a service, but then you want to make sure that you're also paying your team members correctly. And you recently shared that cash isn't always the best incentive for team members. What are some better ways to reward top performers beyond money?
One of the things I've noticed is that we tend to do things for other people that we would appreciate. So like if giving a cash bonus is something that we would have appreciated in our career, then that's the thing we automatically assume that everybody else would like. There's a book called The 5 Love Languages.
Oh, I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, which is an interesting book. It's it's a useful perspective. But let's talk about the team bonus side, not the romantic partnership. So there's 5 different ways that you can show someone that you appreciate them, or reward them, or incentivize them, or make them feel appreciated or rewarded. And yeah, cash is not really on that list. So I got 5 ones for you. One is words of affirmation. It's like say something nice in public or private. The second one is quality time, like spending time with them to help develop them, give them feedback, coach them, or it could be social time, doing something fun with the team. A third one is receiving gifts. So like give them a computer upgrade or something that helps them do their work, or like, something for a hobby that they enjoy. Like, you can't really see, but there's like Lego around the place for me. Or, a nice dinner or a weekend away for them and their romantic partner. So gifts are pretty good. So number 4 is acts of service. So doing something nice for them. Like if there's a painful or annoying task that you're about to delegate to them, maybe do it for them, or fire that client who's unprofitable or annoying that they have to deal with. And the final one is physical touch, which is, tricky to do in a remote environment, and be careful with it in work.
Yeah.
Anyway. Like handshake, high five, fist bump, back slap. Some people like that. That can actually be more meaningful for some people than cash. I know it seems surprising to some people listening, but any of those 5 things could be more meaningful for a particular team member. So like I made a GPT that asks a series of questions that helps identify what might work for that particular team member, because this is what I see so often. It's like someone's like, "Oh, I'm going to do a profit share." Like, no, don't do a profit share. Profit shares are terrible. There are so many other things you can do apart from cash, and I've seen cash-based bonus systems just ruin everything, break the business.
And I agree with you. I think everything you said is on key. I see cash as more as a vehicle where you can use that vehicle and just have your antennas on. So if, let's say, you're talking to your team member and your team member is about to move to another apartment, let's say next month, well, maybe you can actually send a gift, send a bonus for that person to move, right? Or if you notice that, I don't know, they were going through like a financial, problem or whatnot, you can send them. So there's purpose behind just doing a random bonus, right? And I think it goes far beyond. Like the other day, I think this happened a few years back where there was a team member that their puppy was going through surgery. Mm-hmm. And we were able to help that person, and I just messaged that person and said, "Hey, we want to help you," and they were so blown away, like, really? And so, just those little minute details goes really far, right? Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Having some emotional meaning behind it for that particular
Correct.
But means that it lands a lot better. They feel more appreciated. They're like, "Oh, how do I," even subconsciously in the back of their mind, they go, "Oh, how can I get this again?" They start thinking about, well, he's rewarding me for this particular thing that I've done well, or that I'm generally good at my job. So like, all right, it subconsciously helps them to do that more often. But yeah, the emotional impact needs to be there, not just like sending someone some cash.
Amazing. So let's talk a little bit about building wealth beyond the agency, right? Because a lot of times there's some agency owners that's all they have, right? I mean, they're really pouring their tears, building the agency. But many business owners confuse business success with personal wealth. And why is that dangerous, like in your eyes, or what are some things that you can see in order to make things better?
Agencies, but businesses in general, it's very easy for them to dramatically get worse. So if it's the only asset, then that's bad. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, people think buying a home is nice and secure, but not if you're living in a place where there's constant tornadoes or hurricanes or bushfires or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's a high risk area. And business is pretty risky. Like, there's a lot of external factors, there's internal factors, there's, our own mindset and self-sabotage things that can dramatically make it worse on a fairly short basis. So it's the opposite of a blue chip investment. But as a trade-off, like, it has huge potential to grow their wealth. Like, the return is usually pretty good. Like, you spend 40 hours a week for 5 years growing an agency and you could sell it for 8 figures or more. Like, you can't really do that generally by buying a house or investing in stocks.
Totally.
But it's a balance. So what I normally recommend to people is like, figure out what you need to pull out of the business for yourself and what the business needs, and have some savings buffers in the business and on the personal side. And then any excess should be invested somewhere to reduce your risk, diversify it. You could buy another business, or you could invest in stocks, buy property syndicates, index funds. Like, there's so many other things out there that have a different risk profile and where you're less likely to lose everything that you've built. It's kind of like if you go to the casino, you go to the roulette table and like you just keep putting your winnings back onto the roulette machine. Like, that's obviously a terrible thing. I mean, a business isn't quite so bad as that. What they say that, a casino should win just over 50% of the time so that you keep coming back. But yeah, it's like never just keep pouring your cash back into it, no matter how much you're winning, because eventually you won't, and you might lose all the progress you've made.
What's your take on investing within the same agency, like those agency owners that they purchase another agency, an acquisition, and they're trying to get more revenue, more profit by purchasing another agency? Or would you recommend the other flip side, doing something totally different to diversify maybe doing something that they love. Let's say, I don't know, they're into fitness and they want to open up a gym, what's your take on that? There's no right or wrong answer, but what would you say would be the best approach?
I would say whichever approach you take, try and have only one business that's your main active focus. So you can't grow your agency and be growing your gym, and you can't work two days a week here, 3 days a week there, or vice versa, and have either of them go anywhere useful. Like, what I usually suggest to people is like, have your main income and wealth generator, and that's where you're putting most of your active attention, and then the other investments are a bit more passive. So you buy a gym and you put someone in there that runs it for you, sure. And you go there and you work out there and you talk to them, yes, but you're more of an advisor and less of the active person who's driving it, like you are in your agency. That is hard for some people because that's what they've been used to for years working their agency. They're the one that calls the shots. They do all the things. They supervise everybody. They've got control of what's going on. So letting that go and considering your other investments to be a bit more passive, I think that's important. Acquiring other agencies is a good move for growth in the 7 figures range. It can be a lot faster. It can be the faster way to acquire a lot of customers at once, even if your marketing is working well. Bear in mind that you will probably see other agencies that don't work as well as yours.
Exactly.
But we want to buy a fixer-upper that we can fix, because it's a fixer-upper, means the price is nice and low, and then we fix it, and then it's worth a lot more. Plus, there's economies of scale. Maybe you get good team members from the acquisition, that sort of thing. So, I've helped a few people with that, and I think it's an interesting next level challenge to start acquiring and integrating other agencies.
Yeah, and I think what happens with a lot of agency owners is that they get so busy within their agency that they really don't put the time, right, to look for other investment vehicles, right? And they're just focused, head down. They've done a great job in their agency, and they probably bought a property, like an investment property, just to do something with their money, right? And I think that becomes an issue if they're not really focused and putting some time on that. Because if you have all your eggs in one basket, right, it can become an issue later on. Could be. I mean,
I could talk forever on the risk of putting all your eggs in one basket. I think the most important thing, and this is something that I always stress, is sometimes we can get caught in this idea of always seeking more in a unspecific kind of way. So like the thing I like about your podcast, like Go Accomplish More, is like you do speak about the kind of more that you're talking about, certain way of growing your agency, running your life, having some balance, but still the growth. Whereas like some people are just like, I just more clients, more revenue. And it's like, they're not really thinking about why it matters to them and what they actually want. So for some people, they want to grow a business so that can run itself or that can be sold so that they don't have to work as much and they got time for family or hobbies or, philanthropy or being a passive investor or something. For other people, they're like, I want to eat the world. I want to be, grow my agency from 0 to 9 figures in revenue because I want that challenge. And I want to like continually grow. Other people like have a specific sale date or like, I just want to help the people in my local area. Like whatever it is, be clear on what that is and set your goals and plans accordingly rather than just following someone else's script. Like find what fits for you and go do that. And that's the same case with like, acquiring other agencies or diversifying. It's like you can have success either way. It really depends what your goals are. It's like which of those paths is going to get you towards the goals you actually want to get to.
And Ben, for you, like what does real financial freedom actually look like for you?
It's interesting. It's changed. So since I was like a teenager, I was like, these job things, no one has anything good to say about them. I'm not sure that I like the idea of these job things. And so I got into business, and one of the things I liked about it is like, you can build value, but also you can build freedom. You can, do the bits that you want to do, work the hours that you want to work, and have other people support you with the rest. But then, acquired these businesses and a couple of them took off. And then I did, there was enough profit distribution so I wouldn't have to work anymore. Had a bit of an existential crisis because, like, here's the goal that I wanted. Now what? And so for me, financial freedom is about being able to spend my time doing the things that I want to do without the stress of money. And for me, some of the things that I want to do is, like, I want to coach. I want to keep coaching people. I've been doing it for over 10 years, hundreds of business owners and thousands of people who I've done workshops for. And I'm like, I love that. That makes me happy. That feels like I'm making a meaningful contribution. And I love, the results that I get for people. But I don't want to have to do it 80 hours a week. I want to spend time with my family. I want to explore new hobbies, see which ones light me up, like plants.
I love it.
So yeah, having time for family, hobbies, and the work, enjoying exploring new things in business.
And it's so true. I think that most agency owners, or some agency owners, what they do is that they don't really plan out what their why is. Like, why do you want to grow an agency? Why do you want to be at multiple seven figures? And I think, like, mapping that out before will give you more of a clear picture on where you want to be. Because if not, it's just going to be a hamster wheel, right? You're never going to be satisfied, right? You're always chasing that next thing, right? And you're like, why am I working 80 hours a week? Like, what's the purpose here? Do I have to work 80 hours a week?
Yeah, there are some people who work 80 hours a week and find it very meaningful and fulfilling, partly because they're making progress, partly because they've taken the time to structure the work so it's the kind of work that they find meaningful. And that's great for them. Like, there's a number of people who I've helped work more and enjoy that amount of work because that's what they want. Whereas other people, like, they want to work a bit less. And some people, like, when you change the work that you're doing, you're like, I don't actually mind this. I could do more of this. I could commit to a 5 to 10 year career of growing this particular business. If this is the kind of stuff I'm doing, that's not bad. So yeah, getting clear on what you want and structuring your business in your life so that you can do more of that.
That's so good. Well, Ben, we're going to go through some lightning round questions, and I'm just going to ask you, and you're just going to shoot, right? Right. I love this part of the podcast. Ready? So, favorite business book?
Man, lightning, you said. The one that got me into it is Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but it's actually objectively a terrible business book. It's good for motivation. I like the E-Myth. I think that's a useful
book. Great book.
Yeah. I actually like The Richest Man in Babylon. So yeah, I'll leave it at those three.
So mine is The One Thing. I just wanted to share that. I love that book, yes, The One Thing.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Okay, cool. One financial habit every entrepreneur should start today.
Start putting away at least a tiny amount of money on a regular basis. Every week, put a little amount, even if it's $50. Start putting it away into a separate account that you intend to not touch for tax savings if you don't already have one of those. Learning to not spend all the money and to be happy leaving some money to pile up that you don't spend, a game changer.
That's so good. Great advice. Biggest mistake agency owners make with money?
Not reviewing it in some form. You can open up your internet banking on your phone, skim back the last week's worth of transactions and think about, was that good that I spent that? Can I cut any of that? Could be a review like that. Could be looking at the numbers. Could be, reviewing the marketing spend to make sure that it's profitable. But the biggest mistake is just not looking at what's happened and learning from it. So good. What's one thing you'll never outsource? I'll never fully outsource doing all the coaching. Like, the part of the business that I love doing is coaching people. And yes, I may have other coaches help me occasionally, but it's like, I'll never fully outsource that. I love it too much. That's so good. Ben, thank you for being on the show. You've been amazing. Where can people connect with you and learn more about you? I'm starting to post more video. It's turning out to not be as horrible as I thought. So Instagram, Ben McAdam, IG, also Facebook if you prefer to be on there. I'm on LinkedIn as well. Or the website, profitscollective.com. Love it. Well, Ben, thank you. It's been a pleasure having you. It's a great chat. Thank you, John.